The global energy crisis is also hitting the U.S. Prices of natural gas, oil, and electricity continue to surge ahead of the cold winter weather. Places like China, Europe, and South America are facing historically low levels of inventories at their gas storage facilities. Joining us now to break down all of this is Cheddar's own Alex Vuocolo. Alex, thanks so much for joining us. What kind of price increases do you think U.S. households can face this year?
Hey, Asia. So in a short-term forecast released last week, the Federal Energy Information Administration predicted that propane expenditures will rise by 54%, heating oil by 43%, natural gas by 30%, and electricity overall by 6% compared to last year. While the full impact of these price increases will vary significantly by region and fuel dependency, natural gas prices in particular are getting a lot of attention because nearly half of U.S. households rely on the fossil fuel to heat their homes. That being said, the energy crisis is still being felt much more severely in Europe and other parts of the world, but this latest forecast from the EIA is a signal that the U.S. could be heading into a similar situation soon, even though it's a major producer in its own right of natural gas.
And it's pretty scary because in the EU, there have been lines for even things like gasoline in recent months. So, what exactly is behind this crisis, this spike in natural gas prices, and how is it related to other supply chain issues that have plagued our economy during this pandemic?
Yes, so one widely held explanation should be pretty familiar at this point because it's been cited as the reason for any number of supply issues that have taken place during the pandemic. And the story goes something like this. When demand dropped off last year because of COVID, suppliers were forced to adjust their output. Then, when demand roared back more quickly than anticipated, producers were caught sort of flat footed and have been catching up ever since. Something along these lines played out with natural gas to a T. Global demand for gas fell 2.5% in 2020, according to the International Energy Agency, which is actually the largest ever recorded drop in consumption. This low demand actually encouraged many suppliers to cut spending and postpone investment decisions to make up for that shortfall in revenue. By the same token, energy providers didn't anticipate such heavy demand this year and thus didn't secure enough supply ahead of the winter season. Add all this up, and what you have is a major mismatch in supply and demand.
Okay, so it's that game of catch up that we're seeing across sectors from everything in entertainment to apparel. So, zeroing in on the natural gas market, how is this different from other commodities that have seen shortages and price increases in the recent months?
Yes, so while natural gas has endured many of the same challenges as other commodities, energy markets are certainly their own beast and are facing their own unique challenges that are playing a role here. One of the issues that's unique to energy markets and to natural gas in particular is the emergence over the last decade of liquefied natural gas. LNG, which is much easier to export than regular natural gas, is easier also to buy and sell as needed on spot markets rather than through long-term contracts. For producers, this allows them to adjust prices as demand fluctuates, which is helpful, like when something like last year happens. For energy buyers, it helps them diversify their purchases and only buy what they need when they need it. In theory, this is great when supply is plentiful, but when it's tight, spot markets are much more volatile. One of the biggest issues in Europe right now is that a lot of energy providers underestimated their need and bought not nearly enough to what they needed when it comes to their long-term contracts. Now they're piling into spot markets along with everybody else in the world at the same time, and they're experiencing record prices. To sort of summarize, energy markets have become a lot more flexible in many ways, but this same flexibility has put countries at the mercy of much more severe price fluctuations.
All right, Cheddar's Alex Vuocolo, thanks so much for that report.